I've always loved nature and I've loved the planet, and ever since 2005 when I saw An Inconvenient Truth, I've been concerned about climate change. But it's been an uphill battle for anything to get done, and I often wonder why.
We are causing global warming.
On this side of the debate, every scientist in the world. On the other, Mr. Potato Head.
After seeing this video several weeks ago about a man in Southern California who grew up to 80% of his food during the summer, I had a renewed interest in trying to do something myself and learning if it was something I could do at my own house here in Dallas. We often hear statistics like the fact that food can sometimes be shipped 1,000 miles to our local store from South America if we buy crops that are out of season. You know, Gandhi said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And that's what we need to do in order to really change anything, is to not just talk about it, but live it. So I'm developing a plan to try and transform my own backyard into a place where I can help grow food for me and my family. The first step in this process was to look and see what kind of research had already been done in this area. I took a look at this helpful infographic and learned that on a strict vegetarian diet, it could only take 0.44 acres to sustain a person. There's only one problem with this statistic. Upon further investigation, I learned that research was done from a study based on growing crops in New York. I live in Texas. So it was time to do some research. What did I need to find? Number one, how much land is it going to take? And two, what's going to be the cost? In order to find out how much land it was going to take, I first needed to find out what the heck I'd be planting. So I decided to make calculations easier, to construct the most boring diet possible based on the bare minimum nutrition standards from the food pyramid. Apparently, since I last checked the food pyramid at least a decade ago, we've switched our model of healthy eating from a structure that we haven't used in 5 millennia and which we never really ate off of, to the slightly more applicable food plate. So you can go to myplate.gov and find out the kind of nutrition we need. What I discovered was this: a recommendation for 2 cups of fruit per day, a recommendation for 3 cups of vegetables, 8 ounces of grain, and 6.5 ounces of protein per day. And I personally hate milk, sorry America, so I decided not to include dairy in my diet. To save on water, I decided to look for crops that are either native to North Texas or grown by the majority of farmers here. For help there, I looked at the Texas A&M horticulture website. What I came up with was a list of 7 crops needed to survive: grapes, bell peppers, tomatoes, black-eyed peas, potatoes, carrots, and amaranth, a type of grain. I'm so ignorant that I don't really know what to do with amaranth, but maybe I can make some gluten-free bread or something. So now what? Well, I took each individual plant and calculated how much land I would need to grow each one. Somewhere, I think on myplate.gov, but you'll find it elsewhere, I found the helpful conversion that 1 ounce equals 2 tablespoons of dry weight. These crops probably aren't measured in dry weight, but hopefully the calculation isn't that far off. So for grapes, you need 2 cups of fruit per day, which is 32 tablespoons or 16 ounces. Conveniently, there's 16 ounces in a pound, so a pound a day is 365 total pounds of fruit per year. Next, I took a look at the productivity of grapes in Texas. On average, farmers grow 6,000 pounds of grapes and 3 tons per acre of land. Well, I only wanted to know how much land I would need for 365 pounds, so I found out how much grapes were productive per square foot by finding out the square footage of an acre, which is 43,560, and dividing 600 pounds into that. What you come up with is 0.1377 pounds per acre.
3 minus 4 is...
So since we want to be left with square feet, we divide 365 pounds by 0.1377 pounds per square foot, and we're left with 2,062 square feet in order to grow an adequate amount of grapes to survive. I did this for the rest of the produce too. Bell peppers require 1,500 square feet. Tomatoes, 156. Black-eyed peas, 5,810 square feet. Now I'm counting black-eyed peas as both beans and protein to be extra boring in my diet, so that's why the number is so much higher here. For potatoes, you need 156 square feet. For amaranth, 3,613. And for carrots, you actually only need 59 square feet. This gives you a grand total of 13,356 square feet of land. How much is that? Well, it's about 3/10 of an acre. The average lot size in a suburban neighborhood is a quarter of an acre. But this is actually encouraging. The guy I mentioned at the beginning of the video can grow 80% of his food during the summer, and he only does that on 1/10 of an acre of land. And a lot of small urban farmers are getting the exact same results. Because it's a lot easier to manage pests and water on a small urban farm than it is on a huge industrial farm. Additionally, techniques like aquaponics and other mechanical means of improving crop production are said to be able to increase yield by about 100 times. In 2 weeks, I'm actually going to learn about creating just such an aquaponics system. But okay, back to the quarter acre. I estimate, since our lot is a corner lot with a large backyard, that a quarter acre is reasonable for us to grow our food on. In terms of total growing space, how much would it cost to make your backyard into an Eden? Well, I spoke with our composting coordinator, and he quoted the Bible and said, "Build your foundation on rock." When it comes to planting your yard, he meant give it some compost, let it lie fallow for a year, in order to regain the nutrition and the nutrients that it had before the land was farmed. See, where we live used to be a farm. In addition to that, when they built our house, the land was tilled up, so a lot of the topsoil is gone or replaced by clay. For the city of Plano, it costs 30 pounds per cubic yard to do a quarter acre. We'll just assume that we're going to do our lot at 1 foot high of compost across the entire thing. I don't think I would ever spend this much money, but it would cost $10,000 to do your entire yard in compost. I'm just going to, try and get something for free so I don't have to go through the city of Plano to do that or to use my own food from this year. But the average American already spends $7,852 per year on food. If you are able to grow your own food, even if the seeds, mulch, and garden supplies cost $1,000 for year one, you'd be saving $6,000 for that year. In fact, if you went to the city of Plano and bought organic compost for your entire quarter acre, you'd do it a foot high, cost you $10,000, but you'd be able to make a profit by year two. That's huge. If you can make it 1 year and then start saving your seeds, you can save all $7,852 a year. Over the course of your lifetime, if you live 50 years after starting your own backyard garden, you'd save nearly $400,000. Well, that's what I want to do. I want to start backyard gardening. I want to grow my own food, and I want to help save the planet. Hopefully this inspires you too.